Welcome back to Terrific Taste. On the menu today, grilled kielbasa with pepper relish and sweet potato fries. I start off simply by showing you my cutting board of the items that we're going to use for this recipe for the day. Going on, as you notice, I cleared my board. You never ever want to try to cut on a cutting board that's crowded. So you want to clear those items off once you sort them out and kind of make it a little easier on yourself. The sure way to cut yourself is by trying to cut on an overcrowded cutting board. Now I've simply placed my sweet potatoes, my cut sweet potatoes, into a mixing bowl. Just a healthy bit of olive oil or vegetable oil, a little bit of salt and pepper mixture with a little bit of paprika, and ultimately I'm going to then toss in about a tablespoon of cornstarch. Mix those around. The cornstarch helps to stiffen the potatoes and make them a little crispier when you bake them. And there's the paprika that I put on there now, and here comes the cornstarch. Just put that liberally on there and then mix it with my hand. Notice I'm only doing this with one hand. In the kitchen, you always try to keep one hand clean or, not as messy so that you can handle stuff with it so you don't leave grease prints or everything else around it. So that's the technique that we always use. One hand clean, one hand doing what you need to do. Now once they sit for a couple of minutes, I'm simply going to put them on a parchment lined baking tray and put them in an oven preheated to 350 degrees. In the situation I'm doing it now because the kielbasa is going to go by really quickly. I think a total of like maybe 9 minutes, and it'll take about 20 minutes for the potatoes to be done. So for my kielbasa, you'll notice there's always a order in which I do things. So the meat would have contaminated the board, so I want to cut my meat last, right? So I'm going to use the same board. I don't have to clean it off or anything. There's no issue with the things because they're all going in the same recipe. But I'm going to split these in half. I don't want to cut all the way through because I just want to grill them as one whole thing, but in half. So I'll cook you'll see shortly, I'll have the flesh side down, and that's the way I'm going to put them in the pan, just like that. But you want that skin to stay intact when you're doing it this way. Sometimes you'll cut a little too far, like I did one of them, and it'll break off, but it's no big deal. You can just put them together on a plate. It still will present the same way. You'll notice in this recipe, I'm doing this without bread because I just didn't want to have bread. I kind of like eating it this way for me. Now on to the saute. I'm going to start off with my 2 tablespoons of oil. I use vegetable oil in this case, actually a combination vegetable / olive oil in this case. That's what we normally use in the kitchen. I'm going to then let this pan get nice and hot before I go to the next stage, which is just doing my vegetables. I'm going to start off with my onions as usual. I want to check how hot it is by adding a few at a time, because if it's too much, then it'll take longer for the pan to heat up to sear this the way I want it to sear. What I normally would do is use my vegetables to season my pan for my meat, especially sausage. Sausage has enough salt and all those other things. So I would normally use my vegetables as my seasoning. In this case, I'm making a slaw, so that means I'm going to add some things that I'm going to have to take out and clean this pan or use a different pan to make my sausage in. But that's what I would normally do. I'd normally take these out now, and then I'd put my sausage right in without the peppers in, but I want them to get that same taste of all those things that I just cooked in that saute pan. It's a lot of things that I do. It's just another kind of technique that you use to impart flavor on different parts of the dish. What you'll see me do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm adding my sweet relish. You can use pickle relish, but I wanted a little sweet for this because I'm not going to use honey or anything like that, but I want a little bit of sweet for this to break up the saltiness of the sausage. So just give this a quick turn. I don't need it to really cook anymore. I just kind of want it to kind of combine. Finally, what you're going to see me do is add my mustard. I say about 1.5 tablespoons of the yellow mustard. I don't want to use honey mustard or anything like that. I already used the sweet relish, so we got enough sweet in here. And now I'm just going to take this off of heat, and this is going to be ready for me to put on top of my sausage and serve with the entire dish. So here you have it, clean pan to start my sausage now. I'm going to liberal amount of my oil in this because I want them to get a little burnt on the bottom, not on the top. I'm going flesh side down, the cut side or split side down first. I don't want too much color on that bottom side because I'm going to get a lot of color on the side that's facing up, the skin side, when I put it in the oven. I'm going to finish these in the oven and not on the stove top. Especially at home, I don't want that grease popping around and doing whatever. So I kind of want, I'd rather grill them, finish cooking them. And you see that nice little color? That's about as much color as I want on those. Now you see me looking at my fries. Those are done to what I think is perfect for me. I like them potatoey, not overly crispy or crunchy. I'm gonna finish this with a little bit of salt at the end. I've already added my paprika before we cooked them, so they're good to go. Now finally, for my plating, I'm gonna add my sausage down. This is really enough for 2 portions, but I wanted to give a little more height to the plate just to show you. But this is 2 portions in here, just so you don't get mixed up. And I'm gonna put my pepper slaw down. And what I would do now is put my fries right in front of it. I wouldn't really use condiments for it at all because I got my mustard and my relish right there. I would dip my fries straight in that, and that's heaven for me. But again, here you have it with the grilled kielbasa with pepper slaw and the oven baked sweet potato fries. Delicious. Again, Chef Mark, thanking you for joining us today. And always remember, help someone. It's a good feeling. It's terrific.